Hey man, I want to take a second, but just give a big salute to Tiffany, man. She been killing it. Her and her team, man. They didn't have like a few back to backs at the top of the charts and some more success, man. So hats off and salute to y'all. I see you grinding.
Oh, congrats! Congrats.
Thank you. Respect. I appreciate it. So, what is all this conversation about?
We're gonna be hosting Glasses Malone tonight. We can ask them anything, you know.
And believe me, you hear Glasses talk, it's gonna turn into something shit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How you doing, Six? Welcome to the room, brother.
What's going on, bro?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much.
Let me see. I'm trying to text this over the Glasses.
I just wanted to say what's up, everybody. Styles, Don, Shad. Thanks for bringing me up. But we're gonna chill in the audience. Can't really interact too much. So
Well, hey, if you got something that you want to ask or whatever, feel free. We're not gonna hold you back. You know what I mean? We're not gonna be like, this is only our room and you're just here to listen. If you legitimately got something you want to ask the homie, speak up.
There ain't no moderator Nazis in here, are there?
No, we more for the people, man. We liberal, man.
Okay. Because man, some of these moderators, they act like they police in this motherfucker.
I heard you got banned, brother. Enemies got banned from a room the other day.
They got you, dog. They got you.
Yeah, man. There is a thing. There is such thing as keeping it too real. You feel me?
Yeah, I dig it.
I'm not gonna say who banned them too, but you got banned by a very popular Clubhouse speaker.
Oh no.
Yeah. He was keeping it too funky, I guess.
That's funny.
That is.
Would you caught them in a lie or some shit and told them about themselves?
I don't know. I guess you would challenge the homie too much on a certain.
Hey, you hear me?
Yeah,
I bet this shit is funny. This Clubhouse shit, I ain't gonna lie.
Nah, hey, it's just some of these moderators, man. I don't know. They let that shit go to their head and shit. You feel me?
Motherfuckers be acting like Run DMC and shit in the bathtub and shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Hey man, I don't mean to say it like this, but some of these white hip hop critics, man, they just feel like they just in charge of the whole culture. You feel me?
Yeah. And I be in there laughing, bro. I be like, this is really
Glasses in the house.
TV.
Like motherfuckers get a couple white rappers, they think they are now. You feel me?
Yeah, that's
you got the bloke in the house.
I be in here laughing, bro.
Yeah.
And before we get anything started, I just want to RIP Prince Marky D.
Yeah, man.
Being reported.
Real talk.
RIP. We lost a legend today.
Yeah,
I'm going to bring anything down, but yeah.
I'm going to watch the Disorderlies right after this, man. I'm going to pull that up for the kids because they was like, who the Fat Boys? I'm like, nah, we finna get into it right now.
That's a legendary movie right there, man.
Facts.
One of my favorite movies when I was a kid. So.
Yeah.
Yo, which one was the one where they was in the cafeteria getting all that food on their plates and shit?
That's Disorderlies.
That's the one right there, Disorderlies.
Yeah, I love that shit.
Let me tell you something. The Fat Boys, that was the first album that I bought as a kid with my own money. Like, because my brothers and sisters, they bought, other albums for me, but that was the first album that I bought on my own, man.
Wow.
I was in 7th grade when that shit came out.
That's crazy.
And we used to be on the motherfucking, the yard, beatboxing and shit, like Buffy, the human beatbox.
Yeah.
Man, that was my youth and childhood right there, man.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, definitely legendary group, legendary artists, man. They, some of the founding styles of hip hop for sure.
People made fun of them for that Beach Boys shit they did, but you listen to that first album, that shit was some hip hop.
Yeah.
Straight hip hop, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That Stickum, man, let me tell you.
Most definitely.
And let me tell you some Jailhouse rap. That shit today outshines a lot of shit that's made, man. With that fucking piano solo.
Yeah.
That dude was killing on that fucking piano, man.
Hey, you think they came after Run DMC, right? Like they was right behind Run DMC, right?
Yeah. Run DMC helped push them out.
Yeah.
You know, because they all had the same producer, Larry Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And
rest in peace to him too.
Yeah.
And also Curtis Blow pushed the Fat Boys out too, and Curtis pushed out Run DMC. You know.
Wow.
Marky was doing this thing to this day too with the radio show. Excuse me, Tiffany. So.
Yeah. Fat Boys, some of the first Latinos in the hip hop game too. People don't know one of them was a Latino too. So.
What was that, Tiff?
On the means of speaking.
Oh no, I was saying one of the Fat Boys was a Latino, so they was some of the first Latinos to be in hip hop too.
Word.
And they did a song with the Beach Boys. That was ill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I said, they became a novelty after that, and people stopped taking them seriously. But man, before all that, man, they was awesome shit. You know, they was rocking it. You know. But yeah, so rest in peace to Prince Marky D. You know,
Marky D, R.I.P. Man. Hey, you know what I was thinking about though? What happened to Short Chop though?
He's still around. He's still around.
He's still around. You know, I have him on my Facebook. And he's in Arizona. Last time I heard,
I got like 3-4 records with him.
His album, his album ain't even streaming or nothing.
But he got a couple cold records with West Coast Stone. Man, he's still getting down.
A lot of those TV records that hit the streaming.
I feel like Cube didn't want to see him shine. In all honesty,
that's not.
He was colder than Q, believe it or not. He might have been writing some of this shit.
That was his artist that he was signed to. So, I mean, you know, if Cube didn't want to see him shine, he was fucking himself over, you know. But he's in Arizona from last time I checked. And I've interacted with him several times on Facebook in the DMs, trying to get him, you know, to do interviews and stuff like that. But he's kind of keeping to himself these days.
Well, we got two verses for him on that Pop Lock Music album from West Coast Stone. Like he'll jump out every now and again. I think he only do the stuff that he really into. You know what I'm saying? Like he ain't trying to push it that hard. He just kind of having fun.
Yeah. So we'll get into a lot of stuff, but man, we've got Glasses Malone in the house
for sure
tonight. The Loke, the homie, the big homie, you know, and man, I love this brother. You know, this guy is a friend, a dear brother of mine, and you know, and we're just gonna chop it up about anything you want to talk to him about. But first things I want to get into before we jump into everything is, man, hip hop uncovered was on the other day, and you know, it was about the lives of Big U, Deb, and a couple of other people behind, other instrumental street people behind the scenes. And, you know, along with Ice-T and other guests on the show, Glasses was on the show. And I was very proud to see that. I wasn't expecting it. He didn't tell me about it, but it was an unexpected thing. And, man, I was so proud to see him on there speaking with all the other legends. Why don't you tell us about the taping of that show, brother?
What's crazy is I was chilling, and I didn't even know what it was for. It was just for a friend. He asked me he was working on a documentary, and he was supposed to actually come to my neighborhood. He was supposed to come on the 7th. So once they told me they wasn't coming on the 7th, I just was like, all right, well, I guess it ain't going to happen. And I left, and they called me back, and it was like 12:30. It was like, no, we want to do it still. Feel me? We want you to come out to Campanella Park. Feel me? We gonna shoot it. It's 12:30 at night. And I'm like, go to Campanella Park at 12:30 at night. That just don't even seem smart. So I drive down there anyway. And I jump out. And they telling me that the conversation is about Big J from Campanella. And I'm telling them, I'm like, man, I don't really know Big J. That's like before my time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know who he was. And they was like, yeah, well, you know, we want to talk to you about different street people. And I'm like, all right, like, whatever. So I'm just doing the interview, and I really don't know what it's about. You know what I mean? I knock it out and everything. And it was dope. It was a dope conversation, and different little gems, you know, came across back and forth. But when they finally started telling me what the show was shaping up to be, you know what I'm saying, it was different at that point. It was like No, because they did start asking me about Big U, and they asked me about Dev, and they asked me about Jack, and different people. And I remember telling them a story about Jack, where Jack was one of the first people to reach out and help me in this business, Haitian Jack. And I remember asking him about the whole Tupac thing, and we talked about it, so I don't know if they're going to use that, but it was some dope stuff in there. It came out real dope. And the thing is, they didn't want to pay, which was kind of lame.
Oh, wow. That's fucked. Hey, so what was the scenario like? This is Capanella Park, Piru neighborhood, your crib. I mean, was there people around or what? Was it dangerous?
I mean, not really. It was late. It was kind of cold, so they would have to be on some bullshit to be thugging out in the cold like that. I think we used to, but it was real late and it was real cold, so there was like only one or two people, and I kind of knew who one of the dudes was, but I mean, that's one of them chances we've been taking for a long time. You know, it usually be cool. Sometimes it can go bad, but for the most part, it's all right.
Mm. I mean, did they have any, like, my question is like, did they know they were bringing a Crip out to a Piru neighborhood or what?
Oh, man, them people idiots, man. They I don't think they even really have any idea. Like, I think they had somebody that they was dealing with, but he's not from Campanella. He's just like a blood from somewhere else. I'm like, yeah, this don't work like that. But, you know, I mean, for the most part, I've been to Campanella enough times to where, you know, I would have been okay. You know, it's always that chance she could go all the way bad, but for the most part, I would have been all right.
For sure. So you have more tape segments that they didn't air?
Yeah, we probably did 2 or 3 hours. I was probably out there at 2, 3 in the morning talking to them.
Wow, that's.
Hold on, so you talking about Haitian Jack? They was asking you about him, you said?
Yeah. He was like, okay,
that's
I don't know if we ever talked about it. He was one of the first people that ever helped me in this business once we got in it. He was like one of the first people we
that's
in the
dope.
Y class.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that specifically because I didn't know that was part of your history, man. So if you could speak to that.
Yeah, damn, that's hard. I never knew that, man. That's legendary right there in itself, you know.
So it's crazy. Like with Jack is, Jack got that reputation in New York. You feel me? And obviously, if you're from the West Coast, you only heard of Haitian Jack through Tupac. That's probably the depths of how you know anybody. So the first time he called me, feel me, we was working on Beach Cruiser the way it originally was, which was like the story. I think you heard it, Styles. And I'm working on it. And around the same time I got with Akon, Jack had reached out to me, called me. I picked up the phone like, what's up? He's like, what's going on? This Jack. And I'm like, Jack who? I'm thinking this is Jack from East Coast that fucked with Cash Money at the time. I knew him on some street shit. He was like, no, this Haitian Jack. And I'm looking around like, how the fuck this nigga even get my number? You feel me? Like, it was just weird. So I'm like, oh, what's up? He was like, yeah, man, you know, I fuck with some of your homies, you feel me, on some street shit. Some people that know you, feel me, and everybody say, you know, you really from the street, so I just want to make sure I'm of service to you, man. Like, you know, the real got to take care of each other. But I'm like, yeah, so we start chopping it up, and you know, it was a real dope conversation. He ended up being a dope dude. But obviously, I had to ask him about the Tupac shit. Same thing with Jimmy Hinchman when Jimmy was managing games. So, it ended up being a real dope conversation, and I got like more insight on it, so I can understand how their relationship went bad.
Was that something that helped you with the latest track you did with the other perspective with the Tupac Must Die joint? Was you writing? No, that had nothing to do with it.
That was all. What's funny is that is a whole nother situation with the homie Dre, Freaky Dre from Southside. So one of my earliest concerts, we was booking our own concerts at first. And one of my earliest concerts getting paid by somebody else was for the Southsides, was for Freaky Dre. And I think it was like $3,000. And like, you know, we was doing concerts. We might have been making $1,000, $2,000, but, you know, we had to work. We had to promote for it. This particular, feel me, concert, he was like, yeah, I got you. I'll give you $3,000. Feel me? Blah, just come do it. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, he didn't even tell me what kind of party it was. He just told me it was in the mansions in Compton. And if you're kind of familiar with Compton, there's these mansions behind Compton College.
Yeah.
Like some real mansions and shit, right? So I'm like, all right, for sure, cuz I got you. We knew Dre from around the way. Plus, you know, Mom, before she got in trouble the last time, she stayed in Southside. So it was a relationship for years. You know what I'm saying? Dre was a cool nigga the whole time. And he had a little rap label thing. So I go to do his concert, and I take my boy Damon with me. My boy D is like the biggest Tupac fan in the world. Like, I mean, like, he was like a real Tupac fan, and he was my hype man at the time. So we pop up over there to do the concert. We jump out. We walk into the back of the mansion. It's a group of niggas just hanging out, all the Southside niggas. A couple of them I know, some I don't. But they all wearing this shirt with a nigga picture on the front of it. And I'm like, oh, shit, this for Baby Lane. So I'm like, damn, I didn't realize this is the day they celebrating. This is birthday party. They got me performing at. And I remember Damon walking back there, and Damon is like a nigga that grew up in the city, but like he not really, you know, he never really participated in the gang activities. I mean, he didn't shot a couple people and did his little shit, but he not into the culture of it. You know what I'm saying? He was a different nigga. He wearing polo, fluorescent colors and shit. So we walking back there. He like, you know, he feeling the vibe because, you know, it's still a LA nigga, so he's feeling the vibe. Like, yeah, this shit finna be on. So I'm laughing at myself because I know this nigga's a diehard Tupac fan. So immediately I do some bullshit. I'm like, man, you see the nigga on these, all these niggas out on their t-shirt? He like, yeah, who's that nigga? He was popping. I said, that's the nigga that killed your boy. Man, when I tell you that nigga whole face dropped, he wanted to shoot up the party. I say, man, if you pull that gun out right here, dog, I'm going to kill you over here. We
Wow.
didn't win none of this shit. He wanted to kill them. He was so mad. Right? So we ended up performing there and shit. I swear to God, it was that shit.
Hey,
so heartbroken.
He said, hey, K-Cuz, you know, this nigga killed Tupac. I said, I know, Baby Lane, huh?
He was so heartbroken. He was so heartbroken.
Wow.
And you feel me? Like, we in the rock, and it was dope. But I remember like going to fuck with Dre at his little studio, chopping it up with him, and you know, I'm the type of nigga gonna ask niggas the question I want to know the answer to. So I asked him. Like, we all in real time, we all heard about it, and we all knew what happened. You feel me? But just to confirm some ideas, and he just kind of let me know the truth and was explaining like, yeah, man, it wasn't like that. You know what I mean? Niggas didn't want to have to do it because niggas fuck with dude music and shit, but feel me, it was on. And that's kind of how I got the information based off that show in 2000. I had to be 2006 or 7.
Dope. So the timing of that, really, I've heard a couple of interviews, and I don't want to make this interview about that, but it kind of it kind of put you back in the forefront of the conversation on the West Coast. Why'd you sit on it for so long? You know what I mean?
It wasn't something I ever thought about doing. It wasn't like that. Like, shit, I just, you know, when I first got in this shit, we was just making rap records. I don't think we really understood much about records or, you know, really what it really took or nothing. I think it was a situation that we was all doing it together. And my boy got in trouble again, so I just kept doing it. I liked it. And I just kept on doing it. And, you know, I was with some real smart niggas, you feel me, at the time. Like, my boy Guido was really smart. He understood records. So, you know what I mean? He was able to put together records. So I didn't really understand the value of the story. Like, it wasn't like that. It was just some regular street shit that happened. A lot of our friends, different people we know.
Yeah.
Feel me? But from 2012, I explained the story to Styles, but from 2012 to 2019, 18, 19, I just started going through this whole metamorphosis of understanding records and hip-hop and marketing. You feel me? And I think when you start digging deep and you start looking for what hip-hop really is on a musical front, you end up in places that, you know, are very authentically true stories. And you know, it's about being honest and presenting information that hasn't been presented, culture that hasn't been presented. So it wasn't something I really sat on. I didn't think about it like that. Like, it didn't even hit me to do it till 2018. Like, I was after records, after hip-hop, feel me? And then marketing, I started understanding what made hip-hop appealing to. After a long 2-hour conversation with Jimmy Iovine, I understood what marketing was appealing to hip-hop. Like, why mainstream wanted hip-hop. I mean, it was easier to market. And I think that became like a thing. Like, all right, well, if it's hip-hop, you feel me, it's gonna give a voice to the voiceless. You feel me? It's gonna be somewhere that only a story that I can tell. It's gonna be something that only I can do. And it just landed right there first.
Gotcha.
What's funny is I had the idea for like a little TV thing I was writing called Two Sides. So it really wasn't even like that. It wasn't something I held on to. I never even thought the idea meant nothing. I never thought the story meant nothing. It was normal.
Got you. I got like some different type questions because, man, I was with Drop before the like right when the Blue Division thing was taking off, and some of them early records you had done with him. I want to know more about your development, like the way you carried yourself on records, your patterns. It seemed like you got more in tune with being laid back on the records, man. Can you speak of, is that like a maturity thing? Is that a vibe thing? Like, what is that?
I don't know, man. When we first started rapping, I don't know what the fuck we was. I was already pretty much grown at that point. I can't really tell you. Like, it was just natural. I know that sounds weird. I really don't have a thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't. Like, it was like now it's different. You can kind of hear it now. It's better because it's like I'm starting to understand exactly what it's all about for the last like 7, 8, 9 years. Like, I'm starting to get it. But at first, I was just doing what came to me. Was like, it's like a basketball player that's like a natural athlete. You just go out and hoop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I really didn't have nothing, but development started coming in as I started listening to records. And I started understanding exactly how to go with the melody, how to go with the music, how not to stop it. You know what I mean? How not to... At first, I used to have a problem. I was just trying to out-rap everybody. You know, then it went to a space of, let me make somebody's song better. Let me compliment the song. But every now and then, people will get the rapper out of me.
All right, you know, there's something that I've always wanted to ask you, and I've never asked you throughout all these years, and we're going back to your Black Wall Street days, Blue Division, you know, yet before Blue Division yet. When you got signed by Sony, Game dissed you in a song where he said, "Don't believe the hype, Mike." And you never took a shot back at him. And I always wanted to ask you, why didn't you go off on him?
There's 2 reasons, right? One was I didn't really ever feel like he was disrespecting me. I feel like he was taking shots more at G-Ride and Face because they all that fell out. You know what I mean? Contrary to popular belief, Glasses Malone is not signed to Black Wall Street. He felt like they sold me off of being signed to him. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think I ever took that disrespectfully from him. You feel me? Like, I didn't really feel like he said nothing bad about me at all. I wasn't signed to him. And, you know, I wasn't signed to him the day when he brought them chains back and I didn't have one. So, you feel me? Like, to me, it had nothing to do with me in real context. You feel me? And outside of that, even through all the bullshit, you feel me? I still a debt of gratitude I owe that nigga, man. Like, feel me? Like, he helped me change my life. Like, it would have been fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, he gave me his platform, even though you can feel how you want to feel about people, and you can always feel like people can do more for you. But shit, just being able to exist in the same area with him gave me the stage that I needed for me to do what I did. Just, you know, whether or not he never had to stamp a project one time, it didn't even matter, you feel me? At that time, man, I come from a different kind of family, like hustling, so we was going to do what we had to do anyway, so I always felt grateful, like, you know, he gave me an opportunity to use his platform no matter what.
But, you know, even though I know publicly, like, you know, I've never asked you that. I know privately, though, between me and you were pissed off, man.
Well, I was pissed off that I was dragged in the middle of something between him and his brother at the time, and I mean, I felt like don't try to do harm to my situation, feel me, because you and your brother kind of got some shit going on. But I think at that time I still was a little bit more immature, and I didn't realize even how bad their situation was at that time, honestly. Their situation was a lot worse than I ever thought it was. And that shit is fucked up, man, because they made such a great team.
How is your relationship with Big Fase? Are you still cool with them these days?
I mean, I check on him every so now and then, man, but, you know, it ain't nothing like it used to be. Like, I really looked up to Face, man. Like, Face is one of the most talented people I know with music. I mean, not just rapping, but putting together a project, understanding how it needs to look. For example, like, when we was almost done with the project, I did all these songs with my boy Guido, and my boy Guido had moved out of town. Like, he was trying to get his family together. There was some crazy shit happening in his life, so he was moving to Atlanta. So I had all of these songs and, you know, no way to really finish it up or get it together. He was going to be done. Like, so he didn't want to record no more songs. He just wanted to put the project together before he should. And so Face was going through the songs, and the songs that would end up becoming White Lightning. And as he's going through the damn songs, he like, man, something missing. And I mean, at that time, I don't know nothing about music, man. I know the bare minimum. It's really all Guido. My brother, you know, that nigga paid for Battle Cat, certain beats, shit, like, feel me, different ideas. I didn't know nothing about music, you know what I'm saying? And so Face going through the music, he like, man, something missing. I'm like, what you mean something missing? I'm like, nigga, this is songs. Just put them together. He like, nah, it's missing something. He like, we gotta make another song. And I'm like, well, what's missing? He like, I don't know. And it's like, nigga, how you don't know? But you saying we missing something that we don't know. He was like, man, you got some beats? I'm like, yeah. So I started going through beats. And this is a beat tape I had, a beat CD I had for a while. And I remember playing the beat that became 200, and I just skipped it. Like, I played dun, dun, dun. I just skipped it. Oh, cool. I ain't finna listen to that shit. Feel me? And Faith was like, nah, go back. And I go back. He was like, play that. He's like, don't change it. He's like, man, this shit is it. This hard. I'm like, for real? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, cuz, well, should I rap? Like, it didn't matter. You know, I could rap to anything, even at that point. So I was like, all right, well, I started coming up with the song right there. And then I went across the street in Game House and recorded the song. You know what I'm saying? And it was like fresh off of this MTV thing we had did like a day before, where we went to, it's this popular store in Westside Paru Hood, and we was doing a little shoot for MTV. And there had to be every bit of 200 Parus there. And I was like the only crip there. And some shit that I thought was going to go real bad ended up being real dope. And they was just showing a nigga love and like talking about little features I did, or talking about my relationship with their homie Fosan. And there was just so much love, and it was just surprising to me because there was so many of them. And so I just started rapping about that experience and how I felt, how it made me feel. If the beef gonna pop, all my niggas ride through, got 100 clips with me and 100 power rules. And I put it together like probably in about 10 minutes and recorded it and everything. And Faze walked in, he was like, hey, play it. And he played, he's like, nigga, this shit, this is the one. Like, this hard, this crazy. I'm like, for real? He's like, yeah. And Gang walked in, he was like, damn, I'm gonna talk on the end of it. I'm like, okay, whatever. So, feel me, he talked on the end of it, and that ended up being one of the most important songs of my career. That's how good Face is. He just knew.
Wow, that's that's pretty dope,
man. That's my favorite song ever in the whole catalog of Glasses Malone. Well, man, that's the one, man. Always, and I always gotta tell you that too, man. I'm sorry, I always gotta interrupt to tell you that. That's my shit, right there.
Yeah. Well, so you gotta thank Face for that, man, because Face is the reason I recorded that song.
Now, he had a big presence even after him and his brother split. He was doing, he had you in his camp, you know. But what happened to him? He kind of disappeared. I mean, after that fight he had with White Boy in his hood, he kind of like fell off the scene. Do you know what happened to him?
I mean, I don't know, man. I talked to him so often at that time, but like I wasn't in, like we had the same relationship where I could ask him about what he was doing. I still think he was doing stuff, but I mean, honestly, I think the heartbreak of his brother, that shit just tore at him a little bit more than everybody understood. Like, maybe he felt like he gave so much of himself because a lot of that shit is Face, you know what I'm saying, to make it happen. And I felt like he probably didn't get his, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I would imagine. And I think it just, when Game left, it took something away from him, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if he ever tried to get it back or even wanted it back at that point. It just kind of was a different place at that point. It wasn't the same. Even Brazil wasn't the same. When I first started going on Brazil, man, it was an unbelievable energy. It was a place you want to be all day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it didn't matter
there.
that they had issues, fights, and shit. That didn't even matter. It just had this love and this camaraderie, you know, for the most part. And when Game and Face split, it just never was the same, man. It was never like right. You know what I'm saying? It never came back together.
Wow. There's another dynamic that I want to talk to you about, that you have a special relationship with Dr. Dre that a lot of people don't know about. They don't know about how Dre has coached you and how he has, given you, has been a big mentor to you. Can you talk to us about your relationship with Dr. Dre? I guess his mic is muted. He's probably doing something right now. Oh, there we go.
So with Dre is the reason I rap full time. You know what I'm saying? Like, my brother's, his ex-girl, his kid's mother, you feel me? And Dr. Dre's sister were really close friends. Shamika were like best friends. And at this time, when we first started, it was me and my two brothers, Rodman, you feel me? And they both kind of stopped or started like doing other stuff. And Pooh became more of a manager. And he was just like, one day, he was like, man, you want to meet Dr. Dre? And I'm like, yeah, shit, let's go meet him. And I think at that time, man, we was slanging all day, hanging out, getting in bushes, shootouts with the Carvers, just crazy shit, you know, low riding, just doing everything. And so I didn't really have a real understanding about none of this shit. It was just like, yeah, let's go meet him, you feel me? I'm rapping. This nigga Dr. Dre make beats. Cool. So we go to his crib in Calabasas, you feel me? And it was for New Year's, you know what I'm saying? It was like a New Year's party he was having with his family. So we all go to the house, and we go in there, and his mom was super duper nice. Matter of fact, happy birthday to Trey today, cuz see that. I'm in there chilling. His mom cooking. Like, his mom could really cook. Her food was so fucking good. And I'm eating the food at the piano, and then somebody come walk across and just put their hand on my shoulder. Now, at this time, like, I'm just crip. So I'm looking at, who the fuck is touching on me? And it's Drake. So he like, oh, what's up, homie? I'm like, oh, what's up with it, man? Blah, blah. So I'm eating my food. I'm not tripping. Still ain't hit me. So now we ate, we chilling, we talking to Drake. And he just was a real good host, real good dude, you know, really cool. And he was like, yeah, he was on the piano. He said, yeah, I'm just starting to figure out how to play the piano. And this is in 2004. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just starting to figure out how to play the piano. So he doing little stuff. I'm like, yeah, man. So we talking about rap and shit, and I'm asking him questions and shit about different things. And I asked him, I said, hey, man, like, hey, give me a beat. I want to rap over one of your beats. Which is weird because now, in context, I think about how crazy that had to sound in 2004 to ask a nigga.
That's crazy.
So you fresh off of Eminem, you fresh off 50 Cent, you fresh off, feel me, 2001, Exhibit. And some nigga that don't got two rap songs is asking you, let me rap over one of your beats. And he just laughed. He just laughed so hard. And I was like, I didn't think it was funny. I'm like, nigga, you make beats, I rap. Now I kind of get why it's so funny. But he was like, look, man, I'll give you a beat. He said, you just got to make a hit record for me. And I'm like, a hit record? He like, yeah. I was like, all right, for sure. I was like, okay, I'm going to give it to you. He said, look, I'm going to invite you back to my next thing. I fuck with you. I was like, all right, cool. So I go back. I tell my man Guido, we working on records, right? So I'm working. Feel me? Everything going good. I could have never talked to this motherfucker again in life. Now that I think about it, I didn't get his number or nothing. So I really knew he was going to call me back. And sure as shit, the nigga called back. He was like, hey, Pooh, bring your brother. I'm going to have a beach party in Malibu at my beach house.
Wow.
So I'm like, cool. So, right, and you think about it in context now, it's like, what the fuck? This nigga called back. So I'm pumped up. I go tell Guido we make about 7 songs, which end up being the beginning of what will become White Lightning. And we go to the pool house, and it's cool. It's a nice pool house, man. It's dope. Little mansion in Malibu, PCH. It's nice. He got all the food and shit. And cuz is DJing. You feel me? He DJing. You know what I mean? I'm still not really tripping because I don't have a real understanding of rappers at the time. Like, I like songs, you feel me? But I didn't really go to rap concerts growing up. They trip off videos and shit. I didn't really look at it like that. My mom is a super music kid, so we just heard music and we played the shit we like and kept it moving, living our life.
Yeah.
So we had this party, the food is going up because everything is great. You feel me? I'm ready to play the motherfucking music. So one of the illest things I remember, because it was the 4th of July, 2004. And what was dope is he was DJing, and he was on his walkie-talkie. And there was a big barge that pulled into the ocean, like a ship pulling a barge. So I'm looking at him, and I realized they coordinating something together, and he trying to reel it up at the same time. So they count down 3, 2, 1. We press play, and Come to find out, this motherfucker scored the fireworks with all his instrumentals. So it's a fucking fireworks show, cuz, with all the instrumentals. 50 Cent in the club. Like, and it was like dope. And I was looking, I'm like, damn, it's dope. But now, even looking back, I'm like, that was insane. Feel me? But so it was a great night. All that shit cool. You know, my brother, we ready to shake. This older white lady keep flirting with me. This rich white lady, I don't know how to feel because it was weird to me. And we ready to shake. He like, I said, man, go see what's up, man. Like, we gonna play the music. So now Dre lit, he on the turntables. So he said, hey, check it out. So we go over there. He said, hey, look, I'm finna go in here with my wife. My wife ready to get the fuck out of here. He said, but look, I could take the CD and I could play it and get back at you, or I could play it right now in front of the whole party. My brother Pooh was like, nah, take it. I said, hell nah, play that shit right now. So he started playing the songs. Man, he had to be skipping the song in 5 seconds or 10 seconds. Like, nah, that's not it. Damn. That's not it. That's not it. By the time he got to the fourth song, he let it play for about 15 seconds. He was like, this cool, but this is not it. And I'll never forget the first time he played Money, De Niro. That shit just came playing out that speaker. It's money. Get you some money. That's that shit dropped. And he was like, this shit is crazy. And he just started laughing. He was hugging me. He was like, this is the shit, nigga. Blah, blah, blah. This is hard. And the whole party was rocking to it. And I remember before that, as he was going through the songs, because that was the last song before that was the song before the last one on the CD, thinking to myself, like, damn, I have to go make 7 more songs. So he was just so pumped up. He was like, I got you, nigga. He said, I don't know what you're doing, but this what you should be doing. This what you should be doing professionally. And I listened, and ever since then, man, we always network or parlay or broke bread, chopped it up, played dominoes. When I go down there, fuck with the nigga and, feel me, get whatever game he got. It's funny because when I made Tupac Must Die, because he tried to get me to apologize. And I remember laughing at him so hard, I almost cried. Me and Mitro was like, bro, we would never apologize, nigga, for no fucking records, nigga. The hell? And I remember him just, me telling him he lost his thorns and him looking at me crazy. And, you know, ever since, you know what I mean, going to play domino, just chilling with dude. He's a really good dude. He's actually one of the most normal guys that's that good.
Wow.
Just a normal guy.
What is losing your thorn?
So I think hip hop is like this sport where it's like this thing where you don't care who you poke or offend. You just care about expressing your truth. And it's attractive from the outside until you grab it and you realize you bleed. Feel me? But as you get older and you grow up and you have children, you get married, you feel me? You start caring what you say to everybody, and you start wanting the world, you start feeling the need to present the world differently because your kids is in it now. So you don't want it to be as fucked up as it was. You need to paint it in a better light. Not to mention when you get some money, you feel me, you don't want to do nothing to rock that boat. So I think at that time, like, you know, Dre where he at now, he ain't trying to rock the boat in 2019 to 20. He ain't trying to rock the boat. Feel me? His life is good. It's easy selling at this point. He just got to sell out. And I remember talking to him when we did Tupac Must Die. He was just, if the whole room didn't tell him it was dope, he would have argued me down the whole time. Feel me? And it was so dope to finally make something. Because Dre is the type of nigga, man, whether people know it or not, this nigga is really competitive. Right now, like, he winning the race by fucking a mile, but he's still competitive.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And so he'll tell you real fast, like, oh, I heard that shit before. He don't care, like, about telling you something that you ain't gonna like. He gonna be like, yeah, that's all right, or that's whack. He'll tell you some shit is whack, or that's cool, but I heard that before. And that's one of my biggest driving forces this year, you know, about my follow-up to Glass House 2, which is be in June, you feel me, is making something he hasn't heard. And that's driving me to be great. So in my mind, I'm competing with Dr. Dre. Even though you can't, in my mind, I am. You feel me? Like, I only see Cuz on the basketball court. Like, I don't see him. I don't see nobody else. You know what I mean? A little bit of Jermaine Dupri, but I only see Dr. Dre. It's all about making something that's going to resonate with the people and earn a plaque, and people going to give it great reviews, and making sure when he hear it, the one motherfucking fact he can't say is he heard this before.
Yeah, I can feel that. I can feel that. Yep.
So we're in the house with Glasses Malone on Clubhouse, WestCoastStyles.com. And, man, I'm going to open the floor, man. Ask the Loke anything you want. Anybody?
Yeah, how was you able to keep your relationship to the streets so well-rounded when it came to, not only Crips and Bloods, but essays? You're very universal when it comes to just interacting with street people, and the love that you get from all sides of the spectrum is something that you don't really see when it comes to rappers, especially from the Mexican community. The way you're able to maneuver in different barrios, and you've helped a lot of Mexican people, and how are you able to just keep that energy and keep that constantly refreshed?
I think most of it, like my mom, honestly means because my mom, Olivia, was a networker, dog. That's just who she was. That D-girl part in her. So it's something I picked up as like just a hustler. And then also even like on the whole race relations, like where we from, man, it's the same shit. And we don't have those problems. So you feel me? Like you gonna always run into a motherfucker that don't like you for this reason or that reason. But shit, long as you grow up in the right way, and the toughest part about fucking with everybody and fucking with people in the streets is being genuine, because genuinely you might say something that people just don't understand, and then you got to deal with the reaction of them not understanding. And also, one thing I also had to realize is, when we come from that dirt, we all got trust issues. So we don't always trust that somebody's giving us their honest opinion or they have our best interest in mind. So really having patience with everybody. Really more than anything, just having patience and not overreacting, taking my time. You know what I'm saying? Like the patience part is the best part, because it's easy to just flip off the edge and be mad at everybody and end up in a whole bunch of shit because you in your feelings. So I think just having patience and keep fucking with niggas, you feel me? And fucking with niggas and trying your best to really help people, because if it's genuine, you're going to keep trying to do it anyway.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that I could say just from knowing you personally. You're a person that tries to go out of their way to appease mostly everybody that you come in contact with, and that doesn't mean like in a weak sense, but more like you're willing to help people, you're willing to put people on to whatever extent you're able to, and just give people opportunity where opportunity is very vague. So. I definitely salute you for that. You know what I'm saying?
That's all good. It's just, how this shit go, man. Shit, it's tough. I hate that it took me so long to learn the shit that I know. I hate that I couldn't explain in real time the shit that I knew was right, but I couldn't explain it as well. Like, you had to learn more to be able to articulate it much easier. So naturally, every human being should be trying to pass information to the next. That's just what we're supposed to do. Something inside of us that's selfish and fucked up that stop us. But for the most part, that's what we all supposed to do. We here just to pass on information.
Do you feel like your class of West Coast MCs, aside from aside from maybe J-Rock, do you feel like your class was the one that did y'all get what y'all deserve? And I'm talking about like you, Rocket, or J-Rock, all y'all that came in at the same moment in time. Do you feel like that class was treated fairly, or did y'all reach the heights that you think you made it, or do you think you still have a lot more to prove along with that class of MP?
Personally, I think I got a lot more to prove. I think I got a lot of room. You know what I'm saying? How much I'm about to grow over the next 36 to 48 months. I'm going to grow further than I ever grew ever. You feel me? So, yeah, I feel like it's always something to prove. As far as the new West class, the more I learn, man, and I arrive at this place and all the shit that we done been through and all the shit that we watch niggas go through, it really come down to none of us was produced. And so I do believe that our whole class, that new West class, was shortchanged on being produced, and that was probably part of the rage that people had. You know what I mean? There's something that didn't feel right, and you could feel something was wrong, now I can articulate what was wrong. And what was wrong is none of the producers that create music for rappers to rap on picked up an artist and put them out. The only person that got produced out of that class was Game. Feel me?
Wow.
If you think about it like...
That's interesting because at the time, everybody thought it was the rappers like Snoop and Ice Cube and that didn't put people on, but it was actually the producers, you're saying.
Exactly. And I think because you don't know, right? You ignorant, right? You don't know because you just ignorant to it all. You feel me? You don't really know what's up. So you just feel something wrong. Like we knew something was wrong. All of us knew something was wrong. To know what's wrong is different. You feel me? What's funny is the first time I got my record, feel me? The first time I got my first record outside of Tune, feel me? One of my own people produced it. You know, my whole team produced it themselves. Like, so this is a theory I had, and I thought this was dope, right? Is the West Coast came from a few producers, right? It's Slip, it's Battle Cat, it's Warren, it's Dre, it's Quick, feel me? And it's somebody I'm not thinking of, Pooh, right? So with Pooh, right? With Unknown, you got Ice-T. With Unknown, you got Ice-T, and Unknown and Slip gave you Condo's Most Wanted, right? With Dre, obviously you got NWA, right? You got Eazy-E, right? You got Dr. Dre, you got DOC, you got Michelet, you got Snoop, right? You got Exhibit, really? You got Game, and you know with this, that's what you got from there. Warren G, that's how you got Thug Life to get a plaque. You got Warren G and you got Nate Dogg. With Quick, you got Sugar Free, Second to None, Feel Me, High C, all of that stuff. So the producers have been responsible. Battle Cat gave you Domino, Banging on Wax. Feel me? The East Siders, Doggy's Angels, who has a gold plaque. You feel me? Dub C gave Dub C his first platinum album. You know what I mean? Produced the majority of that in the hit records. You feel me? Ice Cube produced Mac 10's hit record. You know, most people don't know that. He produced Mac 10's hit record. For Life. Feel me? And you know, the list goes on. So it all comes from the producers. It don't really, the rappers don't matter. It's the music industry. So the nigga talking over the music ain't as important as you would like to believe. You feel me? It's the music. And what happened was it got to a stifle point around that time when the New West came about, around 2005, 2006. Mm-hmm. So outside of Dre, you feel me, producing Game, Battle Cat hasn't produced a full body of work since. Warren G has only produced his album since. Quick hasn't produced a full body of work on an artist since. Probably not until Problem. Feel me? Fucking Slip hasn't produced nothing. Unknown hasn't produced nothing. Feel me? None of the producers have produced for any other artist. So what happened is they allowed the hyphy movement to come in and take over the West Coast completely. And the hyphy birthed the producers now that's Mustard. And when that sound moved on, it made they sound like yesterday. So they end up paying for it in the long run regardless.
Man, that I can respect that to a degree. But even in that, man, it was so many dope producers that were around, that were cutting records. I think that those producers didn't get the nod from the bigger producers to make it really crack like that, if that makes sense.
Nah, it don't work like that. Like, as a producer, like, you don't need a nod from another producer. You just need a record. And if you look at the producers we had, I mean, right now you got a rise of all the Atlanta producers, right? You got, feel me? You got all the Southside, fucking the dude who just did that album with 21 Savage, that producer,
Metro Boomin, all them cats, yeah.
Boomin,
808, Southside, all them cats, yeah.
All them guys got their sounds from Zaytoven.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that Zay gave them a lot of their sounds. That's why Zaytoven music is still relevant now, even though the shit has switched. Mm-hmm. Because they still building from Zay sounds. Mm-hmm. They picking up their own sound, but Zay is the core of their sound. Well, Day One, them joints, feel me? They didn't get the sounds from them. So I don't want to say that it passed because as a producer, you can figure it out. And I can't blame them. I mean, I can't blame Tears. I can't blame none of them. You feel me? Because, again, it's not their responsibility to figure it out. It's an elder responsibility to come down and give them game. No different than Dre gave game to Daz.
Mm-hmm.
Dre giving game to all of them. You feel me? Pooh gave game to some. Unknown gave game to Slip. You feel me? This is your job.
Mm-hmm.
So if the legends ain't gonna do it, they not passing down the sounds to the other dudes to do it. So it's really the producers, you know what I mean, who kind of stifled the movement of the West Coast. And we didn't have a movement until we birthed another producer, feel me, which was Mustard. And then Mustard gave you, feel me, Ty. So Ty gave you YG. Mm-hmm. Him and Cores and them did Tooted and Booted. Mustard gave you Ty. Mustard gave you himself. Mustard gave you Tiger. Mustard gave you Kid Ink. This is all their first hit records that was obtaining plaques. Mm-hmm. Feel me? LMA. This is all Mustard gave you all that shit.
Right.
How close is Mustard's kinship to just original West Coast sounds? Like, is it synonymous, or is there an influence there at all? Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I think you hear more of the LA shit and his shit now, the Southern California, but initially you could hear more of the hyphy influence. But, you know, that's what they came up listening to. If the West Coast wasn't making records in 2005 to 2009, you know, what LA artist was making killer smash records for a party or killer smash records on the radio for men at any high level? I mean, it wasn't none. It was only hyphy. It was the Fed. It was the Federation. It was Keek. It was Fatty. It was 40. It was Short. So all of their music is like a descendant of that shit. That's why it sounded like that. And Jerk became a descendant of that. You know what I mean? So all these kids was birthed on Northern California music. So now they spinning it, putting their Southern California feel on it. So, but once that next generation, once Mustard birth, you know, once that happened, it was gonna make everything that happened yesterday sound like yesterday. So they kind of closed out their own window by not producing for everybody.
So do you feel that do you feel like the Bay is not necessarily getting their just due? Do you feel like the Bay's influencing more LA than LA's influencing the Bay overall?
I mean, this run, yeah. But I mean, I don't think it's about that. I don't think when Mustard or Larry or Official, rest in peace, when they went in to make a beat, they thought about that. So when you're a kid, it don't work like that. It's like Dre giving all the credit to Parliament. You feel me? It wouldn't be like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was obviously records he paid homage, no different than it's records that Mustard got with Bay Area cats paying homage. You feel me? With 40 and Short. But I think, you know, when your sound births somebody versus somebody that's grown and they start taking your sound versus your sound birthing a person and then you're figuring out how to make it theirs.
Yeah.
So I think to them, if they feel like that, I know that for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of just in them though. Like this is how they grew up. So they.
Yeah, that's Mustard now, man. Yeah. If you a DJ and you was playing records in 2006, 7, 8, 9, and 10, you know what moved the floor, and what was moving the floor in LA at that time was hype. So if you start producing and you trying to move the floor, your influence is gonna come from where it was moving. No different than Dre and them when Dre got his first turntables and all that. The Chronic was just full of the shit that he was playing when he was a young DJ for his parents. So it's the same thing.
I think New West movement was different though, man, in the fact that the mixtape game was at its peak, and there's a lot of classic underground mixtapes that came out during that time period that wasn't necessarily considered mainstream albums. But if you was part of the culture, you kind of understand what the big records were from those mixtapes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? But, man, one thing I realized about this shit, man, you got to play for the records. Feel me? I ain't playing for just the underground, and I ain't playing just to be okay with half-ass getting it. You feel me? And I ain't okay with one plaque. I need to at least have 5 of these motherfuckers, man. Like, you know, imagine... I mean, I don't want an NBA career where I don't never go to the championship or win MVP or Defensive Player of the Year. I want to play for it all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the truth. Like when like I said, when I'm working on my album to follow, you feel me?
Yeah.
I'm trying to compete. I'm trying to make something that Drake could be like, he can't say I heard this before. He can't say that.
No, I agree with that. Anybody else got anything else? The LJ, man, you had your hand up, brother. We brought you in. What's the deal?
I guess he's not there. Well, you know what? Let's you bring up a question.
Yo, my bad.
Okay,
y'all say something to me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, man, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just browsing through, TV nowadays, you don't really look at TV anymore, and you're mostly on the streaming channels and Netflixes and Hulus and stuff, man. And it was a really pleasant surprise to see a promo and then see my boy Glasses Malone, racing a car, man. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about and how that happened for you?
And I've been racing cars since a kid. It's funny because when MTV used to do it, you hear it here first. It wasn't as big as it was by the time I finally did it. But I remember having my race car and that shit. Feel me? It was like a big deal. That's just naturally who I am, man. I race cars. That shit came. I was at the car swap meet looking for some parts, and this lady knew who I was, and she was asking me what I was doing. I was like, yeah, I've been racing since I was 5. And she was just so impressed, and she wanted me to do this show. And, of course, they don't pay good. But I let my manager still convince me to do the shit anyway.
Yeah. So what was it like, man, in that race, right? Tell us about that whole scenario, being in that race on Netflix.
I hadn't raced, so I don't know if most people know this, but in my contract with Cash Money, based off insurance clause, I couldn't race cars. I couldn't street race. It's part of the contract. So I hadn't raced cars. If you knew me before I was rapping or before I got a deal, I was racing cars all the time, every weekend. That's what I do. That's what me and my family do. We do it together, me and my homies. And I hadn't raced in so long, but I was thinking about getting back into it. So when I went out there, it was dope. You know what I'm saying? The car was straight. Everything was good. But it was certain parts of racing that I forgot was real tricky. And I walked into that thinking it was going to be kind of fair. Like, they said the race was going to be at a track. And the track is prepped for fast cars. But when they took it to an airport, you know what I mean? It's a certain amount of rubber that needs to be on the ground for your tires to stick to. And when the rubber on the ground, man, there's certain things you can't do, not if you're smart. So I didn't even try to do it. And I just had to take a loss, and that's not easy for me because I ain't used to taking losses on a motherfucking racetrack.
So, tell us about, we've been on talking for about an hour now, and I don't want to keep you too long. This is a recorded conversation from westcoaststyles.com. Let's end off by what you're working on. Can you tell us about what's coming out for you next, musically? I guess his mic is muted right now.
My bad. So, I think somebody muted me. So with Glass House 1, I'm releasing Glass House 1 next month to DSPs. But I kind of imagine the idea and use the information I've gained over the last, from 2012 to 2000 to now to kind of repair it. You know what I mean? I think a lot of my brand was fragmented, so I repaired the actual project, and I made it even more interesting. It's kind of like my homage to, like, being a West Coast nigga is it's a little bit of modern stuff, but it's a very vintage feel. It's Warren G is on it, Snoop Dogg is on it, Ice-T is on it, Ty Dolla $ign is on it, Kid Ink is on it, E40 is on it, Too Short is on it, Coolio is on it. The East Siders is on it. Cypress Hill is on it.
Damn.
Dogtown is on it.
Wow.
It's really, really dope. You feel me? And at first, you always have that question to yourself, like, damn, did I wait? I didn't have an opportunity to work with them when we first came in the game. They wasn't fucking around. You feel me, like that? So now that I had the opportunity, and this project kind of fit that time period where my mind was at, it was dope to finally work with all of them dudes, you know what I mean? And knock out ideas and bring their ideas and my ideas together. And man, to have a real dope piece when you hear it, you feel me? If you're a fan of West Coast music, straight up, you gonna love it. You know what I'm saying? Every bit of it. Special, man. It came out dope as fuck. And I'm just proud of it, you know what I'm saying? Start releasing songs from it, next month. Dropping songs probably every week to let people have them. And after that, I did a whole project with Urban Poe called Imperial, with EP the producer from Watts. It's a dope 30-minute project. It's actually 29 minutes. That follows up, and then my actual I guess it would be my third album. You know what I'm saying? LA Nights, which is the album I've been working on now for like 2 years, figuring out how I'm going to do it. I got a good groove, so that's for the summer. I'm just excited for it. I haven't released music in, with our Glass House 2 in 2015, so to drop this one, and then Tupac Must Die. So over the last 6 years, I've released an album and one song. So,
but there was also Thuggin' too, right? But
that's on Glass House 2.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
So this year, I plan to release 5 albums. I never released like this much music ever. I think altogether I'll probably release somewhere near 8 projects, and I'm probably gonna match that number in this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be crazy. That's gonna be dope.
And what is crazy that I could tell everybody is that I was pleasantly surprised when I went to his studio is that Glasses Malone is producing music. Like, he's a producer now. He's not just rapping. He's actually making tracks, which I think everybody's going to be pleasantly surprised to hear.
Dope.
Yeah, what happened is because, I'm tired of Dr. Dre because, how I feel to have this nigga keep saying he heard everything, man. That shit is embarrassing. Feel me? It's like he better than me, but he not that much better than me. Like, it shouldn't be to the point to where he ain't heard. I'm more than good enough to give him something that he hasn't heard yet. You feel me? So, shit, back with Means, we talking about 2015. I was producing back then. You feel me? I just don't know how to play the keyboard. You feel me? But I understood what it was, and I knew how to dictate the ideas, just getting other people to help execute it. Now I'm a lot more friendlier. I mean, I could chop samples then, but now I can really get closer to exactly what I want to do, even if I can't play the keyboard. I know how many different musicians to go to. More Quincy Jones, you feel me, on Thriller than anything.
Where can I hear some beats?
I don't make beats like that. Not like for other people.
Hey, yo, speaking of beats,
some beats.
I was just on the phone this whole time with Young Focus. He says, what's up?
I'll tell you what's happening.
For sure.
One more thing I wanted to kind of ask, because I'm just asking all the questions I wanted to ask. Why is there such in your opinion, why is there such a disconnect with West Coast artists becoming moguls opposed to like somewhere like New York? New York, you got Puffy, you got Jay-Z, you got all these people, you got Cameron, you got all these people that New York artists, aspiring artists, etc., can go to and get a deal. You feel me? But when it's in LA, you kind of got these figures that have a whole lot of accomplishments, and then that's just where it lies. There's no buildings to walk into. There's no real institutions here to nurture and breed West Coast hit makers. And why do you think that is? Is it a individual thing out here, or where's that disconnect coming from?
So think about it, right? When you say that, right? Think about it. We had the first one, right? We had Eazy-E, right? And then Suge became that. Then Dre became that. Then Ice Cube became that. Feel me? We had a lot of them. You feel me? But I think what happened is the minds that we have, just like those minds, because New York is the fashion capital of the United States of America. Well, California, Los Angeles is the entertainment capital of the world. So a lot of our guys is moving to Hollywood. So Cube, who would probably be doing clothing and just albums if he was in New York, well, guess what? He moved to movies. Eazy-E passed away. Feel me? Dr. Dre is scoring films. He did as much. Dr. Dre did a lot of shit for years for us, man. For years. Dr. Dre put on acts. Kendrick was his last gift to us. You know what I mean? Like stamping that and, helping topping them, see that through the last little stages it was at. Feel me? But I think Dr. Dre was putting out, which is dope. You know, his birthday shit is right here. But what's dope is it's like Dr. Dre been putting out acts since Ruthless. Feel me? Since '87 as an executive, all the way to 2000 and when he broke 2012 when Kendrick came out, and he's still trying to help Anderson .Paak now. So, but I think the rest of them, they go to Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And we don't. This ain't the media capital. So like a motherfucker like Noriega, like we don't have media. Like we have Hollywood, but there's New York is still the media capital too of the world to a degree. So a Noriega podcast or a Fat Joe podcast is more of an actual thing. For us out here, we need to utilize Hollywood a lot more, and I think that's a mistake we're all making. Everybody from LA is so anti-Hollywood, but all our success stories that come from our background end up in Hollywood.
Got you. Well, I'm going to do one thing right here, and I'm going to put you in the hot seat for a second. So I want you, go ahead, anybody out there, ask Glasses Malone something that you feel is controversial, because he's not afraid to speak his mind, and he's not afraid to say how he feels. So if anybody has anything controversial to ask him, go ahead and ask him.
Controversial? Why the nigga ain't never let me work with him, man? Nigga always act like we can't get down. You know what I'm saying?
Rhyming and lyricism.
Glasses, let's put that together, because Dub is like family. But no, my question was, and you kind of like segued into it unknowingly, but just like what spawned the podcast? Like, where did that idea come from, and why did you embrace that idea of doing the podcast?
Man, I still am. I'm barely starting to embrace it. Like, motherfuckers been trying to get me to do a podcast forever, man. And what happened was, so when Tupac Must Die came out, it did everything I thought it would do. I mean, even with a shadow ban from YouTube, it did fantastic. It impacted the culture, put me in the light to where people had to deal with my talents. And, I gave them a truth that was a tough thing to face. And it spawned, like, this dope 6-figure distribution deal, right? It spawned Charlemagne, you feel me, on the verge of opening his podcast network, and iHeart decided, like, yo, we want him. You feel me? It spawned the Netflix Street Race show that we, this TV show that we got greenlit. Like, Tupac, real hip-hop spawns opportunities. Feel me? If it's real. You feel me? And it spawned about 4 life-changing opportunities, and it was just up to me to get myself in position to take advantage of them. So the podcast thing, Charlemagne has been trying to get me to do a podcast since he first introduced me to him in 2015. And I just never wanted to do it because I feel like people who do podcasts usually be done with rapping. But I don't think so. I think I got my thorns. I think a lot of people who do podcasts may don't have their thorns. So I think it's going to end up working out for me in the long run anyway.
Yeah, I think it's dope because you're not afraid to speak your mind. Yeah. And, that's one thing I love about you is that even on your Twitter, you're always just like, boom, you'll throw something out there that'll just get everybody all fucking, in the mix. You know what I'm saying? And, that's what I love about you, brother.
And what's weird to me, what's weird to me, Styles, cuz is I really don't be thinking I'm saying nothing that crazy. I don't know what the fuck.
Man, you be saying some crazy stuff. But over the years,
damn well what he said.
I swear to God, I don't really be knowing what be that bad. Niggas be like,
it don't be bad. It's just, and why I think the podcast idea is a dope idea is because you the way you put stuff and the way you explain it and express it makes people think. I would say, like, for me personally, with the conversations we've had over the years, it makes me think in ways that I may not have normally thought. Like, and I think Tupac Must Die is like the prime example for all of that, because nobody really looked at that story from Orlando's perspective until the song came out, right? Everybody was just like, oh yeah, F Orlando because he killed Tupac or allegedly killed Tupac. But just the conversations that you have spawn people to think about the other side of the coin in a lot of conversations that, you know, we either take for granted or we see one side.
And what's crazy, Six, is, right, shout out to my little homie Dwight, that's out there off the stage, but really, like, this is me normally. And Styles know me, feel me? Fucking Means know me, Six know me, Dre know me. This is, I'm not going out of my way to think this shit. Sometimes it's almost crazy because I'll be like, damn, nobody understands what I'm saying. Like, it just sounds that crazy. It don't sound that crazy to me. I swear it don't be sounding that crazy to me. It don't. Like I would love for somebody to tell me what they think the craziest thing I said so I could hear it back, and because I don't know what the fuck really, like, even Tupac Must Die, like, to me, that's not, okay, the title, right? The title, I was thinking of like a movie, like Romeo Must Die or John Tucker Must Die, right? It was a movie, right? So I know what I'm thinking, feel me? And I didn't think it was that bad. Like, I really was surprised. Like, I thought it was like, oh, this is crazy. But I didn't think people would really think that Glasses is saying, like, I want to kill Tupac. Like, I definitely didn't think people was that crazy.
But, you know, I think it's just, you'll come out sometimes and be like, Mike Tyson wasn't shit. Or, what's his name? Dennis Rodman's better than Shaq. And then that'll just get people going like crazy, brother.
Yeah, but, like, I don't think I've ever said Mike Tyson wasn't shit. I
mean, in the grand scheme of things, he kind of wasn't, though. He when he finally fought a fighter of his caliber, he lost, you know?
Exactly. And I never said he wasn't shit. I just don't understand why is everybody making him the best heavyweight, and there's two heavyweights in this same era that was better. I like, it's almost like I'm crazy or something. Everybody making me feel crazy, and I'm like, I know y'all saw Van Holyfield whoop this man ass. I know you saw
big dog ass. Oh, Holyfield beat the brakes off Tyson. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Buster Douglas beat the dog shit out of him.
But you like, see, you seem like you speak from a perspective of a thinker, though. So, like, you unplug from the marketing hype, the TV hype. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. People big on brands, bro. Mike Tyson had a huge brand. Even, you know what I mean? Like, they wasn't looking at no stats. You know what I'm saying? They looking at his highlight reel, and they looking at who he is, like the phenom Mike Tyson. You know what I mean?
I mean,
those fans, you know, that's like for the Tupac scenario, like, street people understand, like, fans think that, you dig? Like, fans think Orlando was a bad guy. Street motherfuckers get it, you dig?
Right.
And so I think that was one of the biggest sources of, what's funny is Tupac's energy is in that song. The idea of, like, trying to make something that fit what they do. You feel me? And that's honest to God truth. Like, I felt like it was a lot of his energy in the song, like, to make the song where it was like a disregard for emotions. You feel me? It was about the truth, and the truth to help people and understand, like, you know, give them access into this life of that they so misjudge and that they don't understand, and show how much fear could be into it, or pressure, or, feel me, confusion, or all of these different things that I think I put in that song. That, I mean, that's what hip hop is about. You know, the upside down. You know, turning the upside down right side up. You know, so people could see it, the parallel universe from your perspective, from the streets perspective. I thought that's what I came out to realize hip hop was. But then even talking to Dre and them, when they talked to me about Fuck the Police and how it didn't get love and how the whole black community came down on them, you would have thought like everybody loved it, but they didn't. But it was just like when Tupac got out of jail, like, people talk about Tupac now like they fuck with him. Man, they was protesting him getting out of jail. Women was talking bad about people that fuck with him. They was protesting Interscope. They didn't want that man out of jail. So again, it's one of those things that people act like they down now. You know, every hero is greater in death, because in real life, if a motherfucker cared about Jesus, man, there's no way them people should have had him on them cross and everybody didn't go take him down. The way motherfuckers praising Jesus right now, if people would have had love for him then, people would have risked their life to get him down off the cross. So there's a lot of strength behind that.
It's crazy how history gets rewritten And there's so much revisionist history going on, especially about Tupac. And that was one thing that you had to deal with recently when you stated that Snoop Dogg was a bigger star than Tupac back during a certain era. And people came against you for that.
And I think that's because, like Dub saying, the brand of people, it's like, dog, like they made it like I don't like Tupac. And I'm like, dog, I like Tupac. I just remember that Snoop was much bigger than him before he came to Death Row. Like it wasn't even close.
Snoop was stale at the time though when Pac finally came out and went to Death Row. Like Snoop was in between albums. I mean, he was fresh off some compilations, but which was the Above the Rim and Murder Was Sketch. But he really was stale though. He hadn't had an album in a couple years, and Pac was he was the next big thing. He was the biggest wave coming, and nobody could really get out of that wave, in all honesty. But
I don't know. I don't even know if that's true, dog. Like you got to think, like Snoop. So whether people get it or not, Snoop Dogg is the Chronic, right? There's no Chronic without Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is a part of the biggest records on the Chronic. So he is the Chronic. So you might as well count that as his album. He's on Nothing But a G Thing. He's on Fuck With Dre Day. He's on Little Ghetto Boy, right? The only song he's not on is Let Me Ride. He's in the damn video, right? So then he's on that album. Then he drops his album in 93, which is the greatest album that ever happened to hip-hop, period. You feel me? Then in 94, right, he turns around and drops an album, a project called Murder Was the Case, based off one song on Doggy Style, right? Then he's fighting a murder trial all the way into 95. Feel me? In 95, his group comes out, Dog Pound, and sells more than Tupac did first week. Feel me? With no records. Like, this nigga was Snoop was a cultural phenomenon that people try to reduce to one album, not realizing, no, there's 92, there's 93, there's 94, and there's 95, and he fought a murder trial in the height of his career. The whole
but Pac was bubbling for years. Pac's bubble was coming right alongside. It's just, I think he might have been overshadowed by the pub that Snoop was having, but Pac was still going platinum. You got to think, Me Against the World, platinum. Thug Life, platinum. You get what I'm saying? He was a platinum artist in prison. Then he comes home, boom, All Eyes on Me does 5, like the first few weeks. He did great.
But you got to remember, means when Tupacalypse now came out, that album didn't go gold for several years. So he was always bubbling. Like people always like people make him to be out today, you know.
Well, Pac wasn't a instantaneous success. Pac was a movement that was forming and creating and molding over years and years of time. That at one point, when it finally reached its peak, it was bigger than anything we'd seen.
And I don't think anybody's denying that.
Bubbling,
right out the gate, you know.
No, but I'm saying it was not bigger than anything we've seen. It was as big as Snoop Dogg. You could not. Nobody in the history of hip hop has ever been bigger or greater than Snoop Dogg.
And then you got to think Snoop Dogg comes in at the height of the NWA and Dre beef. And that had to have arguably been the biggest beef in hip-hop at the time with the world's most dangerous group. Like, well, who was bigger at that point? You did?
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm telling you, these are the things that made Snoop Dogg the greatest hip-hop artist, the biggest icon, and the shiniest star we've ever had. You only could reach his success. And again, this is not about Pac not being successful. Because, you know what I mean? He did have Strictly For My Niggas, and that it took a year or two to go platinum. He was having success. But again, having success, in real time, this man is not bigger than Ice Cube in real time. Ice Cube had bigger albums and bigger films in real time. And Ice Cube wasn't bigger than Snoop Dogg at that time. Like, at that time, the real conversation was Tupac as big as Ice Cube, who had bigger films, bigger albums, a bigger star, everything without the criminal cases.
Ice Cube was on his way out if it wasn't for West Side Connection, in my opinion.
Yeah, but the point is, he put together West Side Connection and dropped a double platinum album.
Yeah, but then he still kind of piggybacked off of the storm that Pac caused. In all honesty, because that whole West Side Connect album was about what Pac was going through inadvertently. You dig what I'm saying?
I mean, I think there was a movement going on about the West, but again, you got to remember, Ice Cube was Tupac's one of his early influences. So it's okay if the influencer is influenced every now and then. There's no crime in that. He gave so much to the game. It's okay if he take from the game sometime.
So, you think Pac was better than Big? Lyrically, who was better, Pac or Big?
I don't know. I think they did two different things.
But you can't run like that. You got to really, like, there's got to be someone that's better than somebody that wasn't. Like, I believe you don't think that lyrically Biggie was better than Pac. Someone was better than the other person. That's just what it is. You feel me?
I mean, I think once you get to a certain status of greatness, I think at that point it's all who you prefer. It's like, I don't prefer neither one of those guys over Scarface, but I'm not going to jump out the window and say Scarface is better than those guys.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know if Scarface is even the right person to even use in this combo, because even though Scarface is a legend, he's just not commercially viable as these other artists we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like a quiet legend, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, if you saying Tupac is bubbling, if you said Tupac was bubbling at that time, well, Scarface was doing the same thing and influencing Tupac. He was saying he had platinum albums and smash hit records and platinum groups and everything before Pac did it, and a ton of success. So I don't know if he wasn't commercially viable. He was Tupac before Tupac went to Death Row.
What record? Okay, in '94, what was really hitting? I mean, okay, what was it? Diary was that the album that was out at that time with Never Seen a Man Cry, right? Is that what was out in '94? Correct?
Yeah.
He was still very quietly on the radar, though. Like, he had a hit record, but it was the one with Cube, actually. But it was still very quiet. Like, it wasn't that dog pound feel. He wasn't Biggie. He wasn't Snoop. He's always been like a quiet success story, if that makes sense. I don't know if it does to people, but
listen to me. This man done had multiple top 10 hip hop albums on the 200 chart. Like, he's had a couple number ones. Feel me, on the album charts. He has probably 5 or 6 platinum albums. He has multiple gold albums. He got smash hit records. He had a platinum group. He's not quiet. It's just soulful, so it's real. But what he does is undeniable, man. Like, and he's the influence outside of being commercially successful. The same success you gave Tupac before he went to Death Row. He was the exact same thing. Imagine Scarface went to Death Row. You feel me? That's what happened with Pac. Pac went to Death Row, and you get that level of Dr. Dre production and touch and shit and Daz and Dr. Dre overseeing your whole project. Imagine if that would happen to Scarface in that time, man. It probably would have been a whole different thing. It might have not been Tupac's core success, but it'd have been greater than anything he ever did.
I mean, he had that platform when he went to Def Jam, and he had Kanye West on records with the Fix album. So he definitely had a big platform. I just think that he never could get that. He just wasn't commercial enough to cross over, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, remember, the Fix at that point is a double platinum album that was top fucking number 3 or 4 in the country. Had smash records on it, and that was just Kanye. And Kanye ain't fucking with Death Row. Death Row ain't just a producer. And Def Jam, an East Coast label. If you put him with some gangster music, feel me, and you'd have put him with Dr. Dre and Daz, and you'd have put him with Death Row, man, that man probably sold 3-4 million albums.
Man, I think Death Row and Scarface would have been an insane combination. That you got that production, like Lasses is saying, and the machine, you know, the machine of Death Row, the mystique of Death Row, and all that. It would have been an insane combination.
So I think, and that's not to take nothing from Pac. I think it's a confusion. Pac was a success story the whole time. It's just Snoop was a cultural phenomenon. Snoop, like I said, people say doggy style, but Snoop is 92, the Chronic. Snoop is 90, 91 is when they first started, and that's when Deep Cover came out. 92, feel me, is the Chronic. He's over on every song, on every single. Feel me? Then 93 is Doggy Style. Feel me? Then 94 is Murder Was a Case. Then in 94, all the way to probably close to 96, he fought a murder case. Like, that's big. He fought a murder case on national television. It's some kind of confusion that this motherfucker wasn't huge. Listen, Snoop was so big. Dog Pound outsold Me Against the World that year.
Wow.
Like, that's how big Snoop is. His group is so big. His group that nobody really knew. Feel me? Because Snoop Dogg and a Dog Pound is that kind of conversation. Feel me? It was that big that literally, you feel me? This motherfucker, they outsold Pac that year. That dude is a different kind of icon.
Yeah. And, the thing, when you look at the two, Tupac became larger than life after his death. His don't do that. Don't do that. No. He transcended. He
transcended. Serious right now. Do not do that.
No,
that was the biggest shit ever on the planet alive.
And then
he was immortalized. He died, bro. Immortalized.
No.
That word immortalized.
I'm gonna tell you.
Death made him larger than anything else.
And he wasn't the biggest star on the planet, man. People always forget that House of Blues concert. He was opening up.
He was sleeping with Quincy White, whatever daughter. You feel me?
I'm not saying he wasn't a star, but Death
was the biggest shit ever, bro. Like, he was a star, bro. He had star movies.
Listen,
motherfucking dog. He comes out of the pen, bam, he does 5 immediately, bro. Passes up Dog Pound, passes up Snoop. All these motherfuckers. You dig what I'm saying?
No, he didn't, right? He has a double CD where he sold 2 million copies that counted as 4, right? And then when you saying even when he was alive, after he put out All Eyes on Me, they had a show at the fucking House of Blues. Guess who Tupac was opening up for? The biggest fucking star that ever happened in hip hop.
Well, then how come Snoop that night isn't publicized the way Pac that night is?
Because Pac got murdered in cold blood in front of the whole world. Everybody knew what happened to him. He was the biggest. It's one of the biggest, saddest things that ever happened to a hip hop artist historically. It's traumatic. People didn't even identify with him till his traumatic downfall. And the same thing happened with Nip. It happens. People just, vulnerability is past once people see that you're vulnerable. And in this situation, it took him to another level. But Tupac was very successful in life. But don't get it fucked up that he wasn't greater than Snoop. That just ain't true. Even the numbers you're talking about was not happening when he was alive. Even right now, they're saying the album is 12 times platinum. That just means you sold 6 million copies of a double CD. Doggy Style is still 7 million sold. It's one CD. And if you count The Chronic, and if you count Murder Was the Case, and you count this whole thing, and you still talking about a living legend and the greatest thing that's ever happened to hip-hop. And you know it take a lot to say this because I never thought that.
Don't get me wrong. Like, Snoop has an undeniable brand and it's worldwide. You feel me? Like, you can never take that from him. He brought, the essence of urban lifestyle into the hip-hop community, which is cripping, all that shit, right? But Pac is just a whole nother brand of greatness, bro. You feel me? There's several countries that have paintings of Pac or a tattoo of Pac in a motherfucking third world country that's in a war right now somewhere.
And we're not disagreeing with you. But right now, my nigga, every house got a picture of Jesus Christ on the wall, man. Eating dinner with some niggas. Couple niggas, some niggas he didn't even trust. Feel me? But the day he died, didn't their nigga risk their life to take him down off that cross? So don't get it fucked up. In life, it ain't always the same thing as in death.
I don't know, man. I feel like, Snoop is dope, bro, but, Snoop only has one real classic album. The rest of them are due.
The Chronic is Snoop's classic album. Doggy Style is Snoop's classic album, right?
The only thing that might even be appropriate to talk about after Dog Food is maybe Last Meal, and maybe No Limit Top Dog, maybe. You feel me? Like,
but you know how hard it is to make music for 30 years? Man, brother, you're talking about a fucking hard-ass task, man.
And not to mention...
That's not an excuse. You got people like Jay-Z and multiple classic albums.
Yeah, but again, when you saying Jay-Z has... But when you saying Jay-Z has multiple classic albums, that's not really a real thing. Like, that's just something that somebody said and some people agree That's not true. It's a lot of people that think Last Letter is a classic album.
Hold on. You telling me Blueprint isn't classic?
I'm telling you, I love Blueprint. Like, I love...
Blueprint changed the whole atmosphere of the game at one point.
Yeah, but I think that's...
White Lightning Stick's a classic album.
Yeah, but again, I think a classic is a subjective conversation. I think at that point, it's just who you talking to. If you talking about Snoop Dogg, who been putting out platinum albums probably over 20 years, man, and probably the greatest imprint ever of the game, like he literally is McDonald's of rap music. You feel me? If you heard of rap music, that's for sure you heard of Snoop Dogg. He's like McDonald's. Like if you heard of hamburgers, you heard of McDonald's. At this point, most people first entry into eating a hamburger is at McDonald's when you're a little kid. So again, if you're talking about Snoop Dogg, that's how people found out about rap music. Like, this dude is different. It's not normal. And if you know me like Styles, you know me, dog. I never even got into all this conversation because I always felt a level of not fairness from them legends. But the more I learned about hip-hop, it makes me appreciate exactly what Snoop is. And this ain't to take nothing from Pac, because Pac is this whole different anomaly. Feel me? But again, that ain't to discredit exactly who Snoop is. And I could never forget what this man is doing and what he's done. It's another level. He didn't die, dog. He's walking this planet right fucking now, dog. He's fucking Mickey Mouse. Like, this dude is some different shit. And it's all because of hip hop. He didn't have successful films. He didn't have successful other businesses. He don't own a successful clothing line. He don't have successful liquor. Everything he is only because of hip hop. He's cussing people on the news in the morning. Like, yeah, cuz, but like, this is how far he took it. He went from being public enemy number one to the media darling, and he never changed. He's a Crip right now to the white folks.
Yeah, and an 80-year-old woman will know who he is, you know?
And will say, what's up, cuz, to Snoop? Like, that is phenomenal. And I think sometimes it gets lost because we used to, our icons dying, and then we showing them love. So when a person is walking this earth, we don't look at them like the global. Man, imagine if Snoop died in 95. Imagine if he got murdered in cold blood. Man, this wouldn't even be a thought. It's not even close. And that's not to say nothing, because you could only reach Snoop level in this game. There's nothing past Snoop Dogg if you're a rapper or hip-hop artist. There's nothing past him. You either become as famous as he is, as for rapping, or you don't. That's it. There's nothing else. You can be endeared to other people as much or more, but you will never be greater, because literally his imprint is what we're talking about. He is the culture. He's everything hip-hop is, top to bottom. It's what it is. I used to always hear stories of people saying Snoop didn't want nobody to be bigger than him. Snoop couldn't get nobody to be bigger than him because they couldn't represent what he represented. There's no way to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's a bar right there.
If I can add some peace and blessings to y'all. Because Glasses, I've heard, when you have this conversation, Glasses, I don't think the people, and I'm from Dago, living in LA, but I don't think the people understand what Duty's saying. Not nobody on here particularly, but when this conversation comes up, because what Glasses, and correct me if I'm wrong, Glasses, but what you're referring to is, we're talking about Dog in the early 90s. There's nobody bigger than Snoop. And we're talking about rap. We're not talking about, because see, a lot of times when you guys, not you guys, when I'm saying you, I'm not talking about nobody on stage, but I'm talking about the narrative, the thought process. When we mention Pac, we're always thinking about Above the Rim, Poetic Justice, albums, and that. But we're talking about the music that was being put down as Snoop as a rapper in the 90s. We ain't talking about all this other, just the brother Snoop Doggy Dogg. There was nobody bigger than the Dog. When Pac came to Death Row, Snoop was already platinum plus. So he, through his spirit and humility, took a back seat to Pac just so they could push Pac. And that showed the character of Snoop, of Dog. But just looking at what Dog was when they came out like that in the 90s. And I think that's what Glasses is saying.
Yeah.
At that time, Pac's not bigger than Dog at that time. No, he's not.
Can I interject something too real fast?
Go ahead.
I think also too, man, I'm from Ohio, man, Cleveland. And that impact that Snoop had back in them days was like, we wasn't even listening to nothing over here. When we heard the Chronic, it was just a whole different feel to it, man. It was just, just Snoop, even with the Dog was that Doggy Style, it was just a whole different feeling, man. Like, I don't think any rapper would ever be, to me. I like Jay too, but we wasn't listening. Well, I know the guys I was around when he listened to that East Coast stuff. It was more that Chronic,
and more than just music, man. It's a cultural impact that's just different, man. You talking about the face of gangbanging. You talking about somebody who they rebelled against and fought him. They publicized him. This murder case was from 93 all the way to 96. This man has a song called Murder Was the Case on an album, and then catches a murder case, and then releases a soundtrack in the thick of a murder case. People don't really remember exactly what was happening and how iconic this person is. Even now, you don't become bigger than Snoop Dogg. Even in death, Tupac can only reach Snoop Dogg level. There's that level. He set that bar. There's nobody more known for rap than Snoop Dogg. You can be more endeared. I'm more endeared to Scarface lyrics than Snoop Dogg's. For sure. Yeah. You could be more endeared to Tupac's lyrics and songs and his lifestyle, his brand. But again, you could like Five Guys and talk about Five Guys, how fantastic it is. You could talk about whatever you want. But nothing in the motherfucking world is fucking with McDonald's. That is the pinnacle, and that dude is McDonald's. He is the pinnacle.
I just don't like the revisionist history, because I'm probably the oldest person in this room, and I can tell you when I first heard Tupac was his debut on Digital Underground's Same Song. I can tell you where I was when I first heard that song, and I first heard Tupac, and I can tell you where I was when I first heard Snoop Dogg on Deep Cover. And so I know the impact that both had when they first came out. So when I hear all this revisionist history, like people acted like Tupac was the biggest star back then, I know it's bullshit, because it wasn't true. And, when Pac came out on Same Song, he did not have the same impact that Snoop Dogg did when Deep Cover came out, or even when Nothing But a G Thing came out. So that's where my whole stance on it is.
I think also too, man, with, like I say, from being over this way, man, Pac, it was all right. We were in love with Pac, but I just think Snoop was just, it was that whole sound, man. It was just different. Like I say, I'm all the way in Cleveland. It was just different, man. We've always liked Pac, but it was a different feel, man. You know what I'm saying?
And Chris, to your point, that's everybody always liked Pac. Likeable fucking guy. I remember watching that movie when I was a kid with Dan Aykroyd, and Pac was in the film, and you being happy, and Pac was just so lit up. And I remember when Pac first time came out, I had it. People didn't listen to it. I remember when they dropped I Get Around and being happy. He got a bomb-ass hit record, feel me? Pac, everybody liked Tupac. Snoop Dogg, Pac wasn't even a bad guy. You got to remember, hip-hop is still driven by bad guys. Jay-Z is the first drug dealer. Feel me? Fucking NWA is the first street niggas. They calling people bitches and using profanity. Too Short is the first pimp. Feel me? Like, Snoop Dogg is the first gangbanger. That is the cultural phenomenon that is across the world at this point. They were protesting him every day. He represented the face of the West Coast as it was in it's probably the greatest movement of all time.
It's Crips in Europe.
And he is the face of it. Feel me? He is the face of the Crips. He's probably the most popular Crip around the fucking world. And then so he's the most popular rapper and the most popular Crip. He literally just is built in to be the guy. So you only could reach his level. Pac reached that level. You feel me? And like I said, people forget. Like I said, everybody liked Pac. Who didn't like? People, mothers like Pac. That's why they were so let down with the rapes. They were so disappointed because everybody liked Pac. Niggas didn't like Snoop, man. He was a different kind of motherfucker, man. Your parents didn't want you to listen to it. It was different. It was just different, and people don't get that. I think they think I'm saying one person is better than the other, and it's not the truth. I'm saying it doesn't get greater than Snoop. You could only be as great as Snoop. That's the top of it. 50 Cent reached Snoop's pinnacle. Tupac, Jay-Z can reach Snoop's pinnacle. Tupac can reach Snoop's pinnacle. You could only reach his pinnacle. There's nothing greater. There's nothing greater. It's just not. You can't represent a culture that hasn't been spoken for that is large as gangbanging, so, except drug dealing, and that culture didn't go completely unspoken for. So it's just when you get into what hip hop is, it adds up, and it's only Snoop. That's it.
And you've been having a lot of these conversations lately, and I think a lot of people get it confused, the difference between greatest and best. And you've been saying greatest in a lot of conversations, and people been tripping on your ass because they're thinking that you're saying that something is better than something when you're actually talking about greatest. And the greatest could be accomplishments. It could be greatest in reach. It could be greatest in so many different areas.
And that's what it really come down to. I get it. I get it, man. Man, when people worship somebody, man, and it's a cold word because when people worship, some of these people get worshiped. You know, it's very few people walking this earth that get worshiped. Farrakhan is one of these few people who get worshiped. It's very few living beings that get worshiped. So anytime someone's worshiped, anything, even like right now with this Meek Mill Kobe line, like, it's not a disrespectful line. He didn't say an offensive line. He said a line that offended people. People are offended because of how casual he used somebody that people like name. It's another thing, dog, to actually, you know what I mean, to be the face of something that people don't fuck with. And Snoop is that, man. Like, and greatness is that. Greatness is not about what you prefer. I don't prefer anyone over Scarface. Anything. But I'd be a damn fool to not admit that there are rappers greater than Scarface. They may not be better for me, but, man, if you look at Snoop, man, dude is Mickey Mouse. Like, you just don't see it that way for some reason. But he is Mickey Mouse. He is crazy, man. If it's one rapper that an 85-year-old white lady gonna know and a 4-year-old Mexican kid may know, it's probably gonna be Snoop Dogg.
That's a fact. Snoop can go to Hama Honduras, you know, and I'm just being facetious, but he is the only rapper, and we know because Pac's dead, but we talking about living, that can go anywhere on this planet and somebody's gonna know him. Snoop has transcended all barriers, all lines, and so if I'm understanding Glasses correct, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Glasses, but I feel I'm picking up what you're putting down as far as when we're talking about West Coast and we're talking about the cultural impact of the coast. That is, and we're talking about bread, fed, and everything. That is D-O double. Now, we know Pac. Now, if you talk about presence, I'm going to go a different level with that. Pac's presence, he just had a personality that would take over the room. But when you're talking about just that cultural impact, you got to go with the D-O double.
And what's crazy is, man, like, Pac knew it. He knew it. Man, when you go look at his MTV video in 95 when he came home and he was working on music and they did an interview with him and they talked to him at the beach, but he was in the studio. Listen to the song he talked about the most. He talked about two of America's Most Wanted. People look at Snoop like he was just this rapper at that time. Like he was just rapping on rap songs. This motherfucker was fighting a murder case in front of the whole world, releasing songs about fighting murder cases. Bro, this shit, imagine what that is in real time. You're the biggest star in the world. He's the biggest star in the world, fighting a murder case. And then turn around and released a song with video called Murder Was the Case that had another album that was called Murder Was the Case, and you're fighting a murder case as the biggest star in hip-hop. Like, I don't think people get the gratitude of how big that had to be. It's like right now if Drake fought a murder case. Like if Kendrick Lamar fought a murder case right now and then rapped about fighting a fucking murder case. Or Drake. That's what was happening. So people just look at it like they don't see that. They don't remember that he was on every channel. His face was in court. He was on every video. He was on every soundtrack. So not only did he have The Chronic, he's a star on every song. Feel me? On every video. Then he dropped his own album. He's a fucking mega star. Then he drops Murder Was a Case, fighting a murder case. During that time, he's on 2 and 3 soundtracks that have smash records on them. 95, his group come out. He's all over that shit. And then when Pac comes home, feel me? The song that they want to put out that he's the most proud of is with Tupac. Tupac is like that's what he wanted to be the single. He wanted to stand next to Snoop. He knew it. It's fucking Snoop Dogg, bro. And it's in real. I get how that sounds because of the way people worship Pac now. Feel me? I get it. It sounds crazy, but in real life, that's not what was happening in real time. In real time, Snoop was God, man, in hip hop, and he's still like that now. Feel me? Even if we don't necessarily trip off the music, bro, it's not nobody he can't call. When he speaks, it's on every platform. He is what it is. That nigga is truly what this shit is. He epitomized it and never changed. He's not trying to represent nothing different. He's exactly who he was. He's a proven brand, man. That dude is a phenomenon. That shit is not normal. You don't see that shit.
For sure. Glasses, we thank you for being our guest, and we thank you for, as always, speaking your mind and and just keeping it real, man, And so we appreciate you taking the time to be our guest tonight on the WestCoastStyles.com Clubhouse chat. But we're going to go ahead and wrap, and so I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight to everybody. Thank you for being a part of our chat. And Glasses, thank you once again, my brother.